Not waiting for the perfect time, not waiting for that someday when I'll have everything just right. Life is a risk. Finding joy requires some amount of risk. Life is meant to be lived now and not something to be saved for later. Is life about success or is life about significance?
Hi, it's David here. This week on the podcast, I'm going to take you inside one of our recent Freedom Founders member events. This was a presentation that I did with my better half, Candace, for the group. And we started out talking about risk, that life is about risk. To grow, to evolve, to have an experiential life, one has to be willing to take risk. Yet most of us were brought up with being very, very careful, very precise, very detailed, measuring twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times before we made the cut. Yes, there's a part of us that were built and did our technical training on details. That part tends to consume the rest of our lives. We have to be willing to step out of the comfort zone. I talked a little bit about the biblical book, Ecclesiastes. King Solomon, one of the wisest men of the world, said that you should not wait to enjoy life until you have greater resources, that anxiety and worry can consume our lives. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. How do you do that? You've got to find a tribe, people that are also on the same path, that are also willing to take some risk, but still to mitigate that risk in living a better life. It's oftentimes so much easier not to do something than to step out and do something, but you've got to have people around you that can support your ideals, your goals, your values, your vision of what life can be. Life is meant to be lived. I will tell you also that in all of my experiences in life, that the adversities I went through, while they were not comfortable at all, and at the time I felt like I was in a deep hole, that those adversities turned out to turn my life into better places, better movement, change my whole philosophical attitude about life, and allows me today to do what I love to do. I have time, money, and location freedom. I never would have had those things had I not gone through the adversity, nor had I not found and sought out people who could help lead me and guide me through those difficult times to a better life on the other end. I hope you'll enjoy this first half of the segment that I did with my wife, Candace. The following week, we'll pick up and do the second half. I think you'll enjoy both of them.
So at church, we've been studying the book of Ecclesiastes, and if you're familiar, King Solomon, writing, the wisest man in history, certainly had what you'd think was all he ever needed, but with his wisdom, talked about a number of principles. One was diversification. Diversification, we've talked about that, diversifying. Not waiting for the perfect time. Not waiting for that someday when I'll have everything just right. Paralysis of analysis, focusing on what could go wrong and looking for guarantees in life. Where are those? There are no guarantees. The fact that life is a risk. Babe Ruth, what's Babe Ruth known for? Tom? Yeah, but I mean, home runs. But how many strikeouts did he have? He had 714 home runs in his career. You know how many strikeouts he had? You don't, do you? A lot, yeah, a lot. But we don't know that number, do we? Yeah, over 2,600 strikeouts. So, was Babe Ruth a failure? Well, not in our eyes, no. Did he take risk? Well, yeah, because he had that many strikeouts. He also had a lot of walks. So he's the home run king of his era, but he had to take a lot of risk. And some people could turn and say, well, you struck out over 2,600 times. You're a failure. I mean, isn't that how we feel oftentimes when we're thinking about stepping out of bounds, out of that comfort zone? Like, I don't want to be a failure. I don't want to be pegged by a failure by my family, my spouse, my peer group. I don't want to be a failure. If I try something different and I fail, then who am I? It's not the way to look at it. Waiting for conditions to be just right, conditions that may never exist. Having to take some risks, make some movement. The wisdom of King Solomon. What is wisdom? What does that mean? It's experience, knowledge, good judgment, and minding our own experiences. Our own experiences tell us a lot in life, and if we're willing to look at our experiences, not with the self-critical eye that we usually do, because we're very self-critical. I know I am. I mean, we're taught to be that way. If you're an engineer or a doctor or dentist or anybody who deals with details, that's a huge responsibility. So we're very critical of ourselves. We've been criticized, I guess, in a supposedly positive way to make us better, but we take that, we embed that so much in ourselves that stays with us, and then we're afraid to push the outer bounds of what could be in our lives. And again, I am speaking about myself. I still have to catch myself many times, because it's, again, what we think about, what we believe is how we act. And so the only way I can keep accountable, well, as one, is to appreciate my better half, because truly we all know that we marry in a lot of ways, the person who compliments us, right? And that can be, I mean, that's a good thing, but we can also oftentimes see it as a negative thing, because we want to do it our way. But we need to listen to wise people. Our peer group, your colleagues, the people you surround yourself with. Jim Rohn would say, Alistair said, the people that you surround yourself with. What's that average? Or I guess it was James Miller was talking about that yesterday. Very important. Those mentors who can help you be more objective and give you permission to live a different life, be different. Solomon said, finding joy requires some amount of risk. Just think about that. Finding real joy in life. And what is life supposed to be about? I mean, it should be joy. It should be joy, seeking joy, but it takes risk to do that. If we stay so confined in our lives that we're so afraid to try something for fear of being a failure, fear of someone looking at us in some disdain, then how do you have a chance to find joy? So you're taking risks to find joy. Oftentimes in life, it's easier not to do something than to do it, right? Again, take that chance. Nope, you know what? At least I know where I am right now. At least I'm treading well. At least I'm comfortable, and no one's going to criticize me if I just keep doing what I've been doing. Maybe so, but are you living your true life? Are you living your full life? Life is meant to be lived now and not something to be saved for later, because we don't know where later is going to take us, at least on this earth. Solomon said to young people, don't wait to enjoy life until you have greater resources. Don't wait to enjoy life until you have greater resources, because again, specificity. Well, how much is greater resources? What's that mean? What's that really mean? The fact that anxiety and worry can consume our lives. It's easy to be anxious. It's easy to worry. We talk about a lot of threats here this weekend. It's not to create worry, it's just to be realistic, but those can eat us up if we allow that to happen. Being afraid of loss. Building up assets, building up what we think is earthly riches, and being good stewards is important. But when you're young, there's very little to lose. And so taking risks seems easier when we're young. When we get older in life and we have accumulated some amount of materialism and wealth and assets, then we tend to get very constrained. We think, well, I've got to hold on to this. We get anxious, we tighten things up. As we get older, we tend to reduce our freedoms. When we're young, the world is our oyster and we see no boundaries. In fact, parents have to corral us, right? Bring us back in. We're out there exploring everything. We're enjoying life. And we get older, we tend to tune it back and get small and play smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't think that's the way life was meant to be lived, but just something that happens. Thinking about, is life about success or is life about significance? What does success mean to each one of us? So it comes back to, why are we all really here? Freedom Founders from the outside is a place where people know by reputation that we, quote, do real estate really well. And we do. We're blessed. We have amazing partners and trusted advisors here that allow us to invest with and through them. It's collaboration. It's the opportunity to build something bigger through other people that we build relationships with and do that the right way. But why are we really here? I believe it's because there is a greater purpose, greater meaning. Back to the freedom pyramid. It's identifying what is truly important in our lives. But for us to get there, we have to have a path. We have to be given permission to do that. We have to have clarity. Well, how do we get clarity? Well, part of clarity is learning to ask the right questions. You ask the right questions, you get better answers. You get better answers, you develop better strategies. You have better strategies, you get better results. Fail to ask questions or fail to ask good questions, then you get poor answers. And therefore, poor answers beget poor strategies and therefore poorer results. So the art and skill of learning to ask questions. How do I develop that skill? I try to hang around with other people who have experiences that are beyond mine, people that are wiser than I am. That's why I have mentors. That's why I spend time with Alistair and Daniel Marcus and Dan Kennedy. And I make a whole host of other people and the other mastermind groups that I'm a part of and our trusted advisors here. Everybody here has wisdom and experience that others don't have. And it's the collaborative sharing of that gives us the foundation and ability and the security to take that risk. Because if we're all authentic here, we've all found that the path to where we want to go to, it requires us to do something different. I mean, you can get to a point in life where society will call you successful. Your industry, your dental industry, your medical industry, achievements and doing great work, that's all fine. But that's outside definitions. It's what definition do we want? What do we want for ourselves? What do we want to claim as success or significance? It has to be our definition. We have to have clarity about that. If we don't have the clarity, then it's virtually impossible to get there. You'll never get there.
When we I was having this conversation last night with one of the ladies, but when we have people that come in and we're doing these blueprint days and we're talking about the kinds of issues that you have and the solutions that you're looking for, one of the things that's universal with the group is that you don't know the questions that you're not asking about your own life. And if you're not willing to share where you have holes or where you have struggles or anything else, then you're not going to get the feedback that's actually going to help you to figure out where your limiting beliefs are. And what you believe has power. If you believe something, it will limit you whether it's true or not. And you believe things that you don't even realize you've incorporated into your worldview and your personal self-view that need to be challenged, and you don't even know what they are. And the context of the conversation was, in part, without being sexist in any way, there are differences between men and women. So this comment is somewhat more for the men in the room to apply and for the women in the room to understand and be patient with and help with, right? Is that men have a tendency to view the world like they're always in a boxing ring every day. They're always in a boxing ring. So a man goes into a meeting, and if you ask him what's going on in his life, he's going to read you what's on the win sheet, what's on the asset side of the balance sheet, what's going right. They're going to read you everything that's working. They don't do it to leave things out or omit or anything along those lines. It's just automatic. And so, even with, sometimes with him, we joke about it, but ladies, it's kind of the jab. Sometimes you guys do it on the fit calls. It's the jab. It's not hateful. It's not mean. It's just, hey, but you gotta mention that we're having a problem over here, and we're having a problem here. You're not going to get a solution to a problem that you don't identify. You have to come up with the language to identify your own problems so that other people can weigh in on the areas where you have holes and you need some advice. If you can't ask for counsel where you have a problem, you don't get a solve, ever. Ever. You never will. You just can't read the resume. You have to read the liability side of the balance sheet. But when you do, then you're going to get the counsel about those areas where you actually can really lever your performance dramatically. Mike Dostal talked about it yesterday, that there was a barrier that he wasn't getting through in the practice. But come community and communication and sharing and authentic sharing and feedback that's worth something, then all of a sudden he punches through the barrier and the barrier's gone. Gone. And so if you want those kinds of results, the encouragement is go ahead and feel free to share those kinds of things with one another in the safety of a community where discretion is observed and everyone respects one another's privacy and things like that. You have to have a safe place to do that.
If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.